On August 3rd, 2013, this is Bridge Hands, social lesson number 11, Declare Play, day 2 on Trump Contract Promotion, part 1. Green Bridge fans, Michael here at Bridge Hands, and welcome you to another lesson on making extra tricks. Yes, bridge is a tricky game, and we have lots of ways to make extra tricks. Now, you recall in social lesson number 10, which was on no Trump contract, we took a look at promoting a suit, as well as doing finesses. Now in a Trump contracts, which we'll look at most of today, we'll have some more review and no Trumps in part 3, but we have a third way, and that is to do roughs. Well, unfortunately, we're not going to do too many of those today. We're still going to take a look at promotions in a suit contract. So are you ready? Great. Let's go ahead and jump on in. Okay, first off, to make extra tricks and avoid losers, we need to determine our winners and our losers. Yes. So how do we do that? Well, we have to evaluate our fast and our slow tricks. Yes, well, one of the ways is that when we have aces and kings immediately, those are fast tricks. Slow tricks, queens and jacks, not so much. It takes a while before we promote those suits. Even in a suit contract, in our Trump contract, if we're missing the ace, we're missing the first round of control. Once we play, let's say we're in 4 spades, we play that first spade, they win with the ace and they see some business they can take care of on a side suit. They might make 4 tricks before we can make our 10 tricks, and there's only 13 tricks in a deck. So one of the things we need to do when we start off, when we're in a no Trump contract, we count our winners. Now if we're in a 3 no Trump contract, we need 9 tricks. That's a book plus 3 more. If we see we have 8 tricks, we need to get a 9th one somewhere. And that's typically, as we recall, we did promotion, or we might do finesses. When we're in a suit contract, however, we're normally first counting our losers. Yes, so if we're in a 4 spade contract, we need a book plus 4 more. That's 10. If we have 9 tricks, we can see we need to come up with a 10th one by doing that promotion once we pull Trump. Perhaps we'll take a look at that today, where we do the finessing or we do some roughing. So we normally first do pull Trump, don't we? We like to avoid the opponents roughing us on a long side suit. So if we're 4-4 on a side suit and they leave that suit, have fear and trepidation immediately. If we're 4-3, well, it still could, the side with 4 could damage us. If we're even 3-3, if they've done a preempt, a 2-level weak bid preempt with 6-card suit, we've got 3-3 and they've got 6. Their partner sounds like they've only got 1, don't they? So we need to have some way. Normally we will pitch the losers on the long side suit once we have pulled Trump. Okay, well, let's take a look at a classic example where this would come to play. First off, we would take a look at our hand on the west, which is going to be the opener. Nice hand, 5-3-3-2, ace, king, jack, 5 times in hearts. Queen, jack, slow tricks over on the spade suit, isn't it? King, jack, 3 times in diamonds, and queen, 3rd in clubs. Some of you may want to open this one no Trump. It is fairly balanced, although you've got 8 high card points in the heart suit. So what do you feel? I think most of you are probably going to open 1 heart, aren't you? With a nice ace, king, jack 5 times. And this queen, jack, doubleton, opposite no Trump, you may lose those right away. Sometimes we do have worthless doubleton, but we better have some chunky values elsewhere. Okay, so our partner's hand is a 4-4-3-2. 4-4 in the red suits, ace, queen 4 times in diamonds, queen 4 times in our heart suit, yes, like that. King doubleton in spades, and 3 small in clubs. Okay. So if it was 1 heart, you might want to go 3 hearts invitational. You have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and maybe 1 more for doubles and G's. You might almost want to go game. But you wouldn't bid 4 hearts right away, because that would show a weak hand. So I suppose you could temporize by bidding 2 diamonds and then rebidding 3 hearts on your next bid. Or if you take a look at it from a standpoint of our controls or cover cards, remember, aces and kings are cover cards. Queens, when they're in a supported suit, are cover cards. Shortness can be helpful also. So how many cover cards do you see here? Well, certainly looks like we have 1.5 in hearts. We definitely have a queen. That's one. Another one there. Have 1 in the spade suit, 1.5 in the diamonds, chance for finesse, and nothing, no help there. So at any rate, let's assume that we get to 4 hearts, and opening lead is going to be a diamond 2. That's our 7-card suit between the 4 and the 3. But they've led low. It doesn't look like they're going high-low from a doubleton. It could be a 4-card suit. We've got 7. They've got 6. One might have 4. The other might have 2. So let's take a look at our hand and see what we've got in terms of our losers. Well, we have 1 in spades. Mirrored values in the black suit up here. In fact, mirrored value in the other black suit. So we have 1 loser in the spades, the first round of control, the ace. In hearts, well, we've got ace, king, jack 5 times and queen 4 times. We've got the first 4 rounds of control. So even if they're 4-0, a very unlikely situation, that 10% chance, we're in good shape there. In diamonds, we have the first 4 rounds of control there, ace, king, queen, jack. But we have 3 losers in clubs, don't we? So we need to have a plan. So in this case, life is going to be easy. We go ahead and we will win with our shorter side, I think, with the king. We can go ahead and then pull trump, and after that we can go ahead and go to the dummy, and we can go ahead and pitch one of our clubs on that 4th diamond. So remember, after you played the king, pull trump, later on we got jack doubleton, be sure that you play the high card from the short side. You've got 2 left, you've had 3 over there. So jack first, and then to those 2. If you think you're going to get there with that king of spades, if they duck the first time, and then the second time they win the ace, we're not going to get there in that suit. So be sure you leave yourself transportation. Well, okay, so far so good, but there are times when we don't want to pull trump. What's that you say? Yes, there are times when we don't, such as when we have too many quick losers on the side suit. Now you recall that last hand, we had 3 club losers. If we played the club suit, if the ace or king was behind it, that's going to be 1, and then there was 2 more, and there was 1 loser in spades, which they would take probably before we were able to pitch on the diamond suit. So oftentimes, though, it's where we're missing the top trump honor, that ace, or maybe even the ace king. So in that case, the opponents are going to set our contract, so we need to have some sort of a plan to eliminate our losers, and sometimes we do not want to pull all of the trump. When might that be? Well, when we need to discard some of our side suits by promoting in the declare and in the dummy hand. Now, the dummy hand, wouldn't we have to pull trump first? Well, not necessarily. It might be you have a doubleton in the declare hand and a tripleton in the dummy. You have 5 total. The opponents have 8. They're not likely to be roughing that right away. So if they have a winner in the dummy hand, your dummy hand, then yes, you can go ahead and maybe pitch a side suit loser in the case where we had the 3 clubs. We'll take a look at some instances of that today. Another one might be where we are going to rough a loser in the dummy. Let's say the dummy has 10 points. We have just a bare opener of about 12 or 13. Well, we want 25 or 26 points for the game. But our partner, the dummy, they had said, well, I've got a singleton, so that ought to be worth some roughs. Now, if we just go ahead and play our ace, king, and the queen of the trump suit, then we're not going to get any value for that shortness that our partner thought was there for a side suit that was short. So we'd want to go ahead and do some roughs before pulling trump. And even better than that, well, what if you have shortness in both hands? Looks like a ping pong match. The opponents are watching rough this way, watch that way, and rough both back and forth. So sometimes we can do that when we have shortness in both hands, the side suits. Or we could do some finesses. Now, if we don't have too many entries to the dummy, we might get to the dummy once, and if we've got ace queen 5 times in a suit, or maybe ace jack 10 5 times in a suit, we need to do a repeated finesse. Then we have to be sure that we take care of that first before we just start pulling trump. Another would be to throw a loser on a loser. Well, let's say that you have in the dummy a doubleton, and The opponents have a doubleton. Maybe it's a 6-3-2-2 suit. One of the opponents made a weak 2 bid showing a 6-card suit, and you have a chance to roughen the dummy, and the person behind you also has a chance to rough, the person opposite of the preemptor. Well, who's got the bigger trump is the question, isn't it? So if you have maybe 3 smallish trumps in the dummy, and the person behind them has a bigger trump, well, that is not going to work. So you might say, well, geez, I've got a loser in another suit anyway, so why don't I go ahead and put a loser and let them go ahead and over-rough it. When we even put on a trump, let them rough it. We're going to have a loser anyway, so that would be a loser on loser play. And there might be the rule of 1. We've spoken about that before. That is where you've pulled trump, but they've still got 1 outstanding. Maybe you've got ace-king 5 times and jack 3 times. You play the ace-king. The queen doesn't fall, unfortunately. So let them take their queen when they want to. No reason to put 2 of your trumps for 1 of theirs, unless you feel it's going to give you transportation problems to the dummy and they rough and you can never get back to that dummy hand. Another would be to maintain a dummy trump entry, and we'll talk about that more in another lesson. Okay, so let's take a look at discarding some side suit losers as we spoke about. So the contract is going to be 4 hearts. We have this time a longer heart suit, but we don't really have any first round of controls anywhere, do we? And our partner has game values there, so we have king jack 6 times in hearts, king doubleton in diamonds, queen doubleton in clubs, and queen jack third, little better, in the spade suit. Enough for an opening hand of 1 heart. Our partner has 4 triple 3, no chances for roughs here that I can see, and ace king jack in clubs, 3 small diamonds, queen 4 times in hearts, yes, a nice great heart fit, and king 3 times in spades. So the bidding, I suppose, if you played the Jacoby 2 no trump convention, which says you have 4 or more in the trump suit and game values, you could go ahead and make a 2 no trump bid. For those of you who don't play it, I suppose it's just a forcing bid, does not show extra trump. If it was Jacoby 2 no trump asking for the opener to show some extras, the old way would be they would rebid hearts. The more modern way is the slow shows fast and eyes, which says if you've got a minimum hand, bid 4 of the major being hearts in this case. If you've got a little bit more value, like a 1 no trump opener in strength, bid 3 no trump. If you're even better, like maybe about a 5 loser hand, really interested in slam, you would bid 3 hearts, 3 of the major. But in this case, let's say they're not playing the Jacoby 2 no trump condition, so it goes 1 heart, 2, I guess clubs would be fine, 2 hearts, 4 hearts, and I think they would stop there. Okay, so we're in a 4 heart contract, and the opening lead in this time is a club 2. Well, we have a 5-card suit, 3 and 2, so that means they have 8. Now the question is, do you think somebody's really long? Do you think it's longer than 5 and 3, like 6 and 2? Well, if there's no preempt, then I think you're probably in good shape to go ahead and start promoting that suit. But remember, first off, what do we do in a suit contract? We count our losers. So our losers, 1 in spades, 1 in hearts, and possibly 2 in diamonds. This person who led the 2 of clubs, they might have an unprotected ace, and you might have that king pinned. So in this situation, what are we going to do? We're going to win the queen. Then we can go ahead and play to that ace and king, and on the 3rd, we can go ahead and pitch what? A diamond, right? Yes, we're not going to get a finesse, but we don't have to worry about it anyway. Well, it still might work if we go ahead and then later play a diamond, and the person in the south hand wonders, should I put the ace or shall I hold back one time? You may be able to sneak it through, but don't wait till check 10 or trick 11 to do that. Do it earlier on once you've taken care of promoting, pitching 1, pulling trump, and then seeing if you can sneak it through. Okay? All right, well, in bridge, sometimes we compound our odds, and sometimes the odds kind of compound against us, don't we? So we have to be a little bit careful in terms of when we add the odds or when we multiply the odds. Now, if it's a multiple event, that is where you need more than one thing to happen, and we need it to make a game or extra tricks, then these are independent. One is independent of the other. So when it's one or the other, these independent situations, then we have a chance to add the odds. Let's say we're trying to do a finesse in one suit, we have an ace queen in the dummy, and then we have a chance to do a finesse in the other hand, maybe an ace queen towards our hand. Well, we can add the odds. So it would be 50% chance for the first, and then 50% chance of the second, which is another 25%, so that's 75%. If it happens to be the same suit, though, well, then it turns out it's 76%, because it could be that the queen falls if you're finessing to the queen before it even comes around to you. So at any rate, about 3/4 of the time when you have some things that are independent actions. Or maybe it happens to be where you need a finesse, the 50% chance. Or let's say in the trump suit you need it to be a fairly even split. You have 5 and 3, and therefore you have 8, they have 5. So a 3-2 split happens 2/3 of the time, 68%. So we have 50% plus half of the 68%, 34, which would be 84% chance. Life is pretty good, isn't it? So when they're independent actions, then we get a chance to add the odds, okay? Well, sometimes we need multiple events to happen. Well, when we get especially a little bit up in the ozone, we're bidding quite highly, maybe we're looking for the slam, or even for a game perhaps, and we need more than one thing to happen, and one is dependent upon the other. So this is not an or function, this is an and function. We need one and the other. So this might be a situation is when we need a finesse, and we also need to have a 3-3 split. Well, the finesse we know is 50% chance. And to have them drop 3-3, it's about 1 in 3 times, 36% chance. So we would multiply the odds, meaning 1/2 of the time, or 1/2 of 36, or 50% of 36% is 18%. Kind of slim and ill, don't we? Or maybe we need 2 successful finesses in the 2 different suits. Now, rather than one or the other, we need one and the other. So that would be 1/2 times 1/2, or 50% times 50% is 25%, 1/4 of the time. Not so good, but a little bit better than that 18% one we spoke about before. Okay, well, as far as discarding on the side suit losers, remember, one of the things we want to take a look at is we want to count everyone's points. So when we're taking a look at what's going on, in addition to looking at the normal odds, we want to take a look and count everyone's points. Well, how do we do that? Well, let's say that there was one of the opponents that opened, or one of the opponents made a takeout double, or one of the opponents in third seat thought a long time before they made a pass. They were thinking of something. So another item we want to do is we want to count the shape of the suit. So when we count the shape of the suit, there are some fairly common hand patterns. A 5-3-3-2 is a very common suit distribution. Now that could be in one hand, but it also could be the way the suit plays around the table. 13 cards in a suit, 13 cards that can be played around the table. So when we have a 5-3, they're most likely to be 3-2. But when you start thinking about the odds, you can come up with the suit distribution fairly quickly. So if it's not 5-3-3-2, it could be a 5-4-2-2. It could be a 5-4-3-1. Not as likely to be a 5-5-2-1, and very unlikely it is a 5-5-3-0. Okay, start thinking about these shapes though, and then when they happen at the table, you'll say, oh, that was a 5-3-3-2, fairly easy. We had 5 and 3 in trump. One of them had 3, one of them had 2. And you start being able to do attribution for the secondary suits. So a 4-4-3-2 is a very common shape. A 4-3-3-3, not quite so common. And a 4-4-4-1, not as common, but it seems like sometimes When you've got a 4-4 in a trump suit, they occasionally have 4-4 against you. Oh well. And then there's the 6-card suits, 6-3-3-1 or 6-3-2-2 or a 6-4-2-1. Goodness, might even be a 6-5-2-0. The old 6-5 come alive, right? Okay, well, recall that the bids and the leads during the play, and also the play tactics. So if somebody led high in a suit, it could be a high-low signal. It could be a top of a sequence. And then once they won a trick, what was their play? They were looking at the dummy just like we were, and consider that in your play. Also, the deductions, the inferences when the plays were made. When a person led a next to top of nothing or top of nothing, they could have an unprotected ace in a side suit. They certainly don't have a king, queen, jack, a safe lead of a sequence suit that they did, so you might make some inferences there. Also, when they have things such as hesitations, mannerisms, gestures, not supposed to use those so much, but sometimes they will, and you as their opponent can go ahead and make whatever inferences you want, sometimes at your own peril. Okay. Of course, you, more than anything else, you want to count your lucky blessings, don't you? So we want to know thy opponents. That is, when we're taking a look at the odds of these suit splits, we want to think about whether it's a priori or posteriori. So what are those? Well, a priori. This is the statistical odds that we've spoken about, and we say it's 3-3 is 36% chance. Well, if somebody's made a preempt or something, it's going to be different, isn't it? When they made a preemptive bid, probably the odds might be a little bit different. But a priori means that we are lacking outside data. We have no other information. We're just going by the luck of the way the cards will fall on an average day with vanilla hands. So we're taking a look at what are the odds of nature normally dictate. So we want to take a look at some of the odds then, and at least be aware in an a priori situation what the odds would be. So one would be where we have a 3-2 split. Now, some of these you can just reverse the numbers and get pretty close to the percentage. 68%, but anyway, 2/3 of the time, that gets you very close to it. And if it's, say, another 5-card suit, when is it going to be 4-1 split? Well, flip them around 1/4 of the time, about 28%. And what if you have a 6-card suit out against you? Well, they could be 4-2, and a 4-2 happens 2 and 4 times. That would be around 50%, or 49% actually. And how about 3-3? Well, make it 1/3, and you get pretty close 1/3 of the time, or 36%. And how about a 4-3? Well, you're not looking at it too much, but there are times when you want to know about the opponents. When you have a 6-card suit and they have the 7, so this would be a 3 and 5 actually, a little bit more than half, 62%. And how about a simple finesse? Well, of course, yeah, 1 and 2, 50% chance. And for when you have 4 cards outstanding, it could be 2-2 or 3-1. Now the odds, most every time, they're going to break unevenly, meaning like 3-3 is less likely than a 4-2. And sure enough, with a 3-1, it happens 50% of the time. And the 2-2, it is effectively 2/5, or 40% of the time. So 4-0 is what's left over, isn't it? Which is a 10% chance. Hope that doesn't happen when we're going for a slam, correct? Okay, so the other part then is we need to know the opponents, and this is called the a posteriori. Boy, that's a mouthful, isn't it? At any rate, this is a modification of the odds based upon new information. This is where we're taking a look at the opponents, what's going on with them. Yes, it could be the hesitations, the gestures, the mannerisms, but more likely it's based upon their bidding and their play. So one of them would be where they've made an opening bid, 12 points or more. Make it take out double. Maybe shortness in that suit, 11, 12 points or more. Or they make a preempt showing a 6 or a 7-card suit if they open up with a weak 2 or a weak 3 bid. Or maybe they show out in a suit during play. Now, I will say, if you're a defender, don't just start pitching your shorter suits when you have nothing better to do, because a smart declarer is watching that and can make inferences and saying, well, I've got 7, this guy's pitching him, so the partner must have everything else that's left. So sometimes you need to discard evenly, not to give away what your partner's hand might be. Okay, another would be those mannerisms and the gestures. As we've said, when you do that, be a little bit careful, because while the opponents are not allowed ethically to go ahead and make a slow play of a singleton or things of that nature, is that sometimes they might be thinking about something else, so don't be too dead set that you're always going to guess it right in that case. And what's the last one? Well, when the opponents share their cards, you don't want to look at them. That's not part of the ethics of the game. But sometimes a person has just got their cards, they're not chested well as an opponent. You can't help but see them. As my mother would say, 1 finesse? Right. It's worth 2 finesses when you've got 1 peek, isn't it? So there is an interesting joke before closing this section, though, and it might have been a true story. But the way the story goes is that this one person was known to do the one cheek, the one cheek sneak. That's where they lean back and forth, looking to see the opponent's cards if they can. And this one opponent realized that this person had a propensity to try to look at her cards. So it got to be about trick 6 or 7, and the declarer hesitated, not sure what to do. They were wondering where the missing queen was. When you have a two-way chance to finesse, a two-way finesse. And so what happened is she took the queen, and she went down for a purse for something. She put the queen in her purse, and then after that she put her cards out to where the declarer could actually see her cards. And finally the declarer had the information. The queen isn't in this hand, therefore it's in the other hand. They play the finesse towards her, knowing that they're going to be able to catch it in the other hand, and after they play it with her in the 4th seat, she goes in her purse, she comes out and she plays the queen. Here, is that what you were looking for? Well, we don't want to do that, but the point is, it's just your cards. As long as your cards are behind the table, your opponents are probably not going to see them, unless you're, like, say, right-handed and have where you keep your hand open a little bit. Try to keep your cards square and behind the table, and you'll be in good shape. Well, okay, so looking at the rest of the lesson, we're going to start taking a look at some play. We've got quite a bit we've got into this part of it. So in part 1B, for free premium and ultra members, we have several hands with variations. And in part 2 and part 3, for ultra and premium members, we have another lesson segments covering instances of when not to pull trump. We'll have 7 more hands in that section, 5 in the first part that we're going to have. And so if you've not already signed up, then don't delay. Come on over to bridgehands.com and sign up today. Well, okay, Bridge friends, thank you for coming, and I hope you enjoyed the lesson. I look forward to seeing you again soon, hopefully on part 1B, part 2, and part 3. So, until next time, happy bridge trails to you. Until we meet again, bye for now.